During these days when disease is the most discussed subject, isn't it nice to hear about who's healthy? 2020 is turning out to be an extraordinary year for our local bees. We visited Jim Leather of Victory Garden Apiary back in January when he had 21 honeybee colonies. Today, that number has more than doubled. He has 44. So we are checking in with him via Zoom today. How you doing, Jim?
Doing pretty good. Doing pretty good. Doing the best I can, just like everybody else.
Absolutely, absolutely. So we obviously want to hear about the bees, but I think it's really important that we talk to you about a topic that's kind of come up in conversation, the murder hornets, as people are calling them. I want to get your thoughts on that.
Well, I think step one is to stop calling them murder hornets because they've never been called murder hornets before the news stories started popping up about them in Washington State. I think that was just a name somebody latched onto that sounded scary. And unfortunately, it's causing a lot of unnecessary panic. There's really no established hornet colonies in the United States. They've only had 2 confirmed sightings, and they've both been dead hornets in Washington State. They did find a live colony of them in Vancouver last year, but it's been destroyed. And right now, they are just reaching out to the residents of Washington State and asking them to keep their eyes open. And if they see anything, to report it so they can contain them if they are still living in the state. Unfortunately, since there's been so much panic, people have been overreacting and killing everything they see that looks like a hornet, and they've been killing a lot of bees, which is a very, very bad thing.
And you've studied this particular hornet for a while.
Yeah, they are a threat to honeybee colonies, and if they were to ever make it to the United States, certainly it would be a threat for me as a beekeeper. So I've been keeping my eye on where they are, where they've made it to, and the way that they attack bees, so that if they do ever get here, I know the precautions I need to take to protect my own honeybees. Yes, they are big and nasty, and they can hurt you, and you should be concerned, but there is no need to go into full-blown panic mode.
And so with what else is going on with COVID-19, with social distancing, has that affected your beekeeping at all?
Minimally. The bees themselves aren't impacted at all. They're just carrying on like it's everyday life. And it's been a very good spring, so they've been building up incredibly fast. For me personally, certainly I have to take extra precautions when I get called to someone's house to remove bees. I've got to maintain my social distance. I've got to wear my mask, everything to protect the people living there. And I've had some supply chain problems, shipping problems, trying to get some of the beekeeping supplies I need. But it hasn't been terrible overall. The bees, they're building up faster than I can build places to put them. So I'm a bit overcrowded out there right now.
Yeah, definitely. Now, question, can bees get coronavirus?
They cannot. There are a number of viruses that do affect bees, things like deformed wing disease and there's many viruses that they can get, but they are not susceptible to coronavirus, thankfully.
That's great news. And now, from 21 colonies to 44. Jim, how does that happen?
Well, we had a particularly mild winter. Because of that, the bees did not struggle as much through the winter time, and they came into spring very strong. And because of the warmer temperatures, we had a very early spring nectar flow, which gave the bees a lot of resources to build up very, very quickly. Normally, we don't start seeing reproductive swarming until mid-April, sometimes May. They started at the end of March this year.
Wow.
So it was becoming a swarm a day there for a while. 1, 2, multiple calls, other beekeepers calling other beekeepers because they were already busy catching one swarm. We couldn't go get the other swarm. People running out of equipment, so they don't have enough boxes to put bees in. I know I made a couple runs and caught bees in cardboard boxes because I didn't have anything ready at the time. But it has been an absolutely incredible season, and it's been very, very difficult to keep up with. But we're still running full steam trying to take care of all the bees that we get called about because we don't want to neglect any of them.
All right, well, we're going to hear more about how healthy the bees are, so you're going to stick around. Coming up later, we're going to hear more about that. It's going to be great, so make sure you don't miss it. Back to the bees now. This spring has been the most active beekeeping season for Jim Leather in his 6 years of doing it. Jim, tell me a little bit more about why these bees are so healthy.
Part of it was just the wintertime. It was very mild. They didn't really have to struggle as much with the severe cold like they have in the past few years, which led to larger populations of bees coming into springtime and a very early spring nectar flow. So lots of bees means lots of foragers to go out and get nectar and bring it back, and pollen and bring it back. And so their nests just sort of exploded. They built up fast, they got crowded fast, and they decided it was time to swarm. And beekeepers, to prevent swarming, they will split their colonies up. So early on, I had to split my 20 colonies up quite quickly into 30 or 35 colonies just to prevent that swarming. Even though I did that, I still had a lot of my hives swarm, and luckily had equipment available to catch them and place them in. On top of that, all the wild bees in the area swarmed too, and lots of calls for those. Go collect those swarms, and now I need to build a whole lot of equipment because I usually only put 5 boxes per stand, and now I've got 7 per stand. So I need to make some room. I don't like to have them that close together if I don't have to.
Right. Now, obviously, you know, Jim, I wish I could visit you, but obviously we're trying to keep our social distance. Would I be more nervous if I were to come there now and see all those bees?
I believe you would. It's quite a sight to see when there are that many beehives that close together, and just the vast number of bees that are in the air at any given time. It just looks like a cloud of bees. They fly quite fast. They can fly 15 miles an hour, so you see a lot of really high speed zipping in and out of the entrances. The best thing to do to observe that is to stand off to the side on a sunny day, because the sun will shine off their wings and you can just see the bees flying in and out, back and forth across the yard.
Oh, that is so cool.
It's a fun thing to see. If you're uncomfortable with bees, I can see why it would make you nervous, but I think it's a fascinating thing to see.
It would be very cool and very terrifying all at the same time, you know? So with such a healthy, you know, bee population this year, what does kind of like the rest of the year look like?
Well, once we finally get the swarming calmed down, which, I mean, I've still had swarms as I collected a swarm Sunday, and they're still going. Once that calms down, it's just a matter of monitoring the bees, making sure they're healthy, making sure they don't get overrun with the parasites. The downfall of a very healthy bee colony is that the parasites breed inside of the nest, and if the nest is big, then the nest for the parasites is big too. So you got to monitor those mites, make sure they don't overtake the bees, make sure they don't go hungry. When you have lots and lots of bees in one place, you can run out of forage, so they're actually competing right now for that food. You want to make sure that you don't have one that gets weak and dries out while the other ones are big and booming. Hopefully, with the nectar flow starting, we're starting to see clover bloom. That is the big nectar flow for Delmarva. That's when we usually get our extra honey that we can harvest. Step 2 is make sure they have enough room to build, add stories on top of the boxes if they need room to expand, and just monitor their health.
Yeah. Are folks still able to get honey from you, Jim?
Yes, they can. I still have honey available. We're not out at farmers markets or anything, and I don't stock honey in any of the produce stands locally. But people have been getting in contact with me through our Victory Garden Apiary Facebook page, and I've just been sort of arranging that on the porch style contactless pickup for them so they can get their honey and still stay safe.
Jim, thank you so much for joining us today. And I like how you got the word out about the hornets, and I'm so glad that your bees are doing well and that they're healthy.
Thank you.
And I want you to tell every single bee that I said hi. Is that going to work?
I'm making the rounds later today. I'll make sure that they all know.
Yeah, don't leave one out.
No, they're all important.
Exactly. All right, Jim Leather, Victory Garden Apiary, thank you so much.
Thank you.